I was fortunate to meet Hadrat Sahib straight after Umrah in July 1994. We arrived in Gular Sharif, and I was with a companion, Sayyid Nasir Shah, and we'd taken some gifts like Zamzam water, some panne and some tasbees, and we just to give as a gift. So when we arrived there, we met the Sangis who are in charge of, as guests come in, they kind of register with them and let them know that we're the travellers and we've come from such a place. So you have to introduce yourself, and introducing, because my father was already a Murid from Gular Sharif, mentioned his name, saying I'm son of my father, and they then the Sangi, he told us to wait, and they went inside, and they they went inside and they gave they let them know that that certain travellers have arrived and they're from such a place and they would like to meet Hadrat Sahib. So we were waiting for a short while, and then eventually it was our time to go in, and we went into the private room where Hadrat Sahib are. They were sat, and we were fortunate to sit in front of them on the floor, looking at them directly, and they asked about we mentioned we're from Bury, and there was a lot of Sangis from Bury, and they asked for Bawa, and so we spoke that Bawa was with us during Umrah, but then they've returned back to the UK and they were okay, and then they mentioned that because we were all hyped up, did the Umrah and feeling really holy, yeah, and sat there, and they just mentioned that it's all about what happens at the end. You could do ibadat, you could be good, but when your time comes and you're not doing anything good, that's what's going to count. So if you're like some people who might have changed from who weren't doing ibadat, but as it was coming to their end they changed, and that they were doing good, then that'd be a good end. So it's not all about and that kind of, when they mentioned that, and that still kind of hits home, that you could think you're really doing your ibadat, you're holy, but then something might happen where you might forget and you might be doing something else, and then if anything does happen, if you come to meet your end, if you're in a situation where you're not doing good, then that is going to be the end. You're going to be known for that bad thing. So it's the same year, in 1994. I was with my father. We just read the Jummah prayers, and during the Jummah prayers, I kind of fainted, and so I kind of hurt myself, and I just kind of blanked out. So after the Jummah namaz, my father went to the Sangis and said, we want to see whether we can do Malakat with Hadrat Sahib, and so they said, okay, wait. And whilst I was waiting there, then maybe an hour or two later, they then called us in, and this time I was fortunate to again to meet them, and into their private room. So into the private room we went in, and this time I was with my father. So and I'd had a bit of a knock, and I was a bit lightheaded. So we sat there, and Hadrat Sahib, I can't recall what they were saying to my father, but my father mentioned that he fell down during namaz. He kind of fainted and hurt himself, and Hadrat Sahib said, it's okay, Allah Raham kar si, yeah. and that was my second encounter with them. I didn't speak directly to them, but this was again, I was meeting them because of my father, and it was such a warm kind of welcome. Again, father being Marid there, and we were there for about 5 minutes, and then they let us go. So that was the second encounter. So during the same time period, 1994, because I was there for approximately 3 months, and there was a regular visits that I would go with my father, and we would spend the Thursday night, and then the Jummah the following day, and then we would get permission, and then we would come back home. And one thing which I kind of saw when I was there was, especially the langar time, the food time, everybody was treated equal. We all sat down, and this is the workers, the sangis, anyone who is at the time when the langar was being served, everybody was equal. There wasn't this thing, because in Pakistan there's a lot of caste system there, that certain castes get treated a certain way, but everything was just, everybody was equal, which I found which was really good. No favoritism, or your guests, you're getting something different, because living there for the 3 months, when you're as a guest, you normally get treated, people would treat you like as a superstar, but they treat you special, and you'd be looked after. But there, everything was simple, and it was something that I learnt, that this is the way of Darbar Sharif. And then during that period, I did bay'ah. I got bay'ah from Janab Ji, who are Hadrat Sahib's son, their youngest son, and they do a dars where they'll speak from Zohr Namaz until Maghrib, and one thing which I kind of picked up from there, which really kind of hit home to me, was about brotherhood, Sangis, and they said that you can't choose your families are something that you're born into. Your relatives is something that you're born into, yeah. So you've got no kind of say in that. But with the Sangis, you're doing it for the sake of Allah. So the brotherhood and the relation is for the sake of Allah, and that is more stronger than your own family relatives, because that is something that you're born into, and you're making an effort to keep up with them. And with the Sangis, you're doing it because it's for the sake of Allah. And that was something that kind of hit home, and I think that stays with me, until this day and age. I see a Sangi and it's like, wow, I get overwhelmed and excited, and you kind of go in blind trusted and thinking, he's a Sangi from that place, and then you have something in common, and that kind of, that introduces you to the other person, and I find that, that was something that really kind of, stuck to me.